Eyes are closed and being comfortable. Being comfortable. So we just an awareness of the body, then the awareness of the breath, awareness of the mind, or so-called unwanted thoughts are there or no thoughts are there. Asatu ma satgamaya, asatu ma satgamaya, asatu ma satgamaya. Lead us from the false to the real. Another way to understand false, we cannot get rid of the false. That is why the verse, the line means, lead us from the false to the real. So simply means that now I recognize I am the real. False will continue. To lead us from the false to the real does not mean the false will dissolve and disappear. The world will dissolve and disappear. The body, mind, intellect, and the ego. It will continue to be there. Tamasoma jyotirgamaya. How it will happen? It will happen by knowledge. That is why it says, lead us from ignorance to wisdom. Tamasoma jyotirgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityorama amritangamaya, mrityorama amritangamaya. So then what happens? The false that is constantly changing is perishable. We do not identify with what is changing. So that is why we say, lead us from the mortality to immortality. Lead us from the freedom from the mind to the freedom for the mind. I always love to translate as freedom. For the mind means the mind is always looking for itself as a limited body and the mind complex. So it wants a freedom for the mind, freedom for the pleasure, freedom avoiding the pain, escaping the pain. And freedom from the mind means we transcend the mind. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your awareness on the right hand, your awareness on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes, open the eyes inside the palms, know your experiences and bring the hands down. So in the last session, I think, yes, we have done from the layman's point of view. If we understand, are we the body and the mind, or are we the changing identity? That is what we have understood. So now we are going a step further, that before understanding the karma yoga, we have to understand what is swadharma. Swadharma means what is my duty in the world. And that makes a sense. Why it makes a sense? Because the first 6 chapters explains what is an individual self and the real self, what is karma yoga, and what is the self-effort. So if I don't know what is my duty in day-to-day living, I cannot really understand the karma yoga. So real self, first 6 chapters, individual self, self-effort, and karma yoga. Versus the next 6 chapters is the supreme consciousness. Karma yoga replaces with what is known as the upasana, or we can simply say the meditation practices, and grace and the blessing. Because if we claim that we are a tiny individual as compared to the supreme consciousness, obviously we need a grace and the blessing. But the next 6 chapters goes totally in a different direction. It says, is the real self and the supreme consciousness are one only, or they are two? And if they are one, there is nothing to become the doer in the experiences. And if I'm not the doer in the experiences, that is what we have already understood. One of the 6 characteristics of the real self, that it is neither a doer nor an experiencer. It is all pervading. So when it is all pervading, obviously the question of action does not arise. If I am all pervading one reality, where I have to perform an action? So Krishna is going step by step. He is not in a hurry, so he wants us to understand the step by step. So from the verse number 31 to 38, he explains what is my duty with reference to the seeker Arjuna. So we will understand today in a very, as if we are understanding with the bullet points, and then we will go a little deeper into these 8 verses. So the verse number 31st, he explains about my duty. One is the universal duty. Universal laws are there, we have to follow. What it is known as the non-violence, kindness to everyone. Universal laws. Now bring it at the level of our living our life. It's a right-hand driving, so it's a universal law in this US. So we have to find out. I have not to speed the car, so it's all the universal social laws, and also the ethical and the moral laws. So what is universal in nature, which means that it needs to be followed to prevent the impurity of the mind. We have not to brag the ego there. So universal laws are totally different than my duty, my personal duties, my personal duty. Then, so my personal duty means either the duty by birth, duty by profession, duty by the universal laws. If I am a teacher, I should not waste the time. I should I should play my role as a teacher the moment the seeker is there. And the second is, my duty is also not to have an egoistic attitude towards that knowledge, because I have to play a role of a teacher. So I have not to be attached or detached to anything. So when I perform my duty as a teacher, free from the attachment and detachment, free from the preferences, free from the biases. I'm doing my duty. So every moment we have a personal duty. We have a personal duty by birth, we have a personal duty by profession, and within universal laws, because that will clearly define what exactly is the karma yoga. We discussed about the karma yoga as an attitude, a proper right attitude in the mind, followed by a right and a proper action. So these are the foundations of the karma yoga. Now in ancient days, there is a clarity that profession by birth. So like, we are teachers who belong to a particular group. You can say this is one group. What is the role of a teacher? Just to teach, open up these knowledge, help people to remove that ignorance. Our duty is not to be angry and agitated if one is not learning and listening. That is not our duty. Take an example of a cop. So if the cop looks at the criminal and he says, and he goes there and he asks, how are you doing? I'm going to now catch you. No. The duty of the cop, once he sees the crime is taking place, he is to simply catch it. Pull his trigger, get ready. If the guy is not ready, he may kill. He is not to follow the laws. At that time, he is not to follow the universal laws of non-violence. So there appears to be a conflict, but there is no conflict. So sometimes the personal duty overrides your universal laws. Like the army, military. The military of our country, they have to defend our borders. They have to defend us from the enemies. So if these military guys start learning the kindness and non-violence, our country will be defeated. It will not work. So one is universal laws, and sometimes the universal laws overrides the personal duty, and sometimes the personal duty overrides the universal laws. So one is duty by the birth, duty by the profession, and duty by the universal laws. That needs to be understood. It is a pointer in the verse number 31. So what is the duty of the Arjuna as a seeker? Arjuna, one group, we are teachers, so we have to be very kind and humble in passing on this knowledge, maintaining our awareness that this knowledge has been passed on to us by the tradition. Then there is a second group, that those who protect the society. They are the cops in the military, and Arjuna belongs to that category. So it means, what is the duty of a soldier? So that is what he is pointing out, that you are a soldier, do your duty, you should not waver at all for doing your duty. When I look at my honey, my duty, I have to remind myself, what is my duty as a husband? So normally the entire society, in the entire human society all over the world, even if we talk of the women liberation, the male's duty is to protect, to take care, not to fight. Not to fight. That is very clear. So here the master is pointing out, you are a warrior, there is nothing more auspicious than a righteous war. So war is now a righteous war. That is why you see everywhere in the world with the different countries, when they fight, They forget the universal laws. It is their right to protect the country, like what is happening with the Ukraine and the Russia. From the Russian side, it is the same human being. From the Ukraine side, the same human being. And they are protecting their respective borders. And they are fighting. They are being killed for the sake of their so-called the motherland. We will understand deeper essence of this duty, but at present we are understanding so that we can go deeper. So what is that means? Do your duty without an attachment. Do your duty free from attachment and detachment. You should recognize the role. Why we want to do the duty free from the attachment and detachment? That is one reason we are suffering from RSM syndrome. Go back in the first chapter. Claiming and understanding at the time of fighting the war against the enemy, if I am a soldier, not only I am fighting free from attachment and detachment, but I also keep in mind this body is mortal, but the real self is eternal. That has to be clear. And we need not to grieve for the living or the dead. So that is one way to understand. So we are understanding what kind of a duty we need to perform. So this is an extreme case. This is an extreme case of fighting the war. Soldier and the cop has to kill the criminals. Like this, the role that we have to do, we have to define it clearly. Why the master is saying we are suffering from identity crisis. We don't know who we are. So now we are going step by step. Oh, what is my role? I am a father, so let me play my role. I am a husband, let me play my role. Free from attachment and detachment. I am an employer, so let me play my role as an employer. Anytime I switch on the role, but the role is not me. And what is me is not the role. And what is not me is only the role, and what is me is all the real self. So it makes sense to all of us. When we study Gita, we understand that we have already know who is that real self. I am the real self, that is eternal, that is all pervading, that is the truth, that cannot be objectified, that cannot be the doer and the experiencer. Oh, hold on. You said I am doing my duty, but at the same time you say that you are not a doer and the experiencer. Yes, that real self is not the doer and the experiencer because I am playing a role. I am playing a role. So the master is sowing a seed to live into that state of awakening all the time. He is just bringing in that point here. And it is not modified. So if I am not subject to modification, so even if I am fighting as a soldier, I am killed or I kill the people. But here it is a personal duty. It's a personal duty. Oh, and a thief entered into my house and I have a pistol and I kill that thief. No, I have no right to kill the thief. I have to hand over the thief to a cop. That is my duty. I have to be very clear. So it goes a very long way, and he discusses in different chapters. He points out that what is your duty. If you are 100% clear, there is no need to be anxious, there is no need to be reactive, there is no anger. RSM syndrome dissolves completely. With that reference he is talking about. So we can rationalize these principles wrongly, then it does not work. So what happens? When I am clear, my mind is clear, my mind now, I have set a clarity about the personal duty. There is no sense of duality and a conflict in the mind. So I'm going away from the RSM syndrome. What happens? I have a pride of performing the duty. So that pride overrides my anxiety, my duality, my conflict, anytime, anywhere in the world where I am. That is what the verse number 32 is. I'm just pointing out today, so we are just getting a pointers, and then we will go deeper what lies in a sense. So what it means, I fight for the righteous principle, not for a personal gain. What does it mean by personal gain? Attachment and detachment. Here I'm just fighting for the righteous principle. Whether I'm fighting a battle in the battlefield of the world, say against the poverty or against the enemy, it is the same thing. Whether the cop is fighting the war against the enemy. I heard, a couple of years ago, Al Pasco was caught and brought into the New York prison. And there was a lot of more than 500 cops were there to protect, as if the one guy is going to flee. So it is a protection. It's a righteous thing. We need not to think about it too much. So that needs to be understood. So we are just going to have a clear understanding of the personal duty. We should not rationalize our personal duty based on our RSM syndrome. So sometimes we rationalize and then we suffer. You told me before that, I was thinking if the Vrisa still loves me or not. No. It's gone. So when you are working not for the personal gain, you are working for the sake of your duty, that you earn the merit. What is the meaning of earning the merit? You earn the virtues. Why you earn the virtues? Because you don't have a conflict in your mind. You don't commit sins. You don't create unfavorable circumstances in your life. You are 100% clear. You have played your role. That is your role. There is no question of any conflict and duality. So you are not avoiding your duty. You are performing your duty. No worries. You just understand the first level, and then we'll go a little deeper into the understanding. So the word duty here is used, the word is used in Sanskrit as a dharma. So literal translator of dharma is also religion. We will also understand. So religion here means to follow the universal laws. All the religion teaches do's and don'ts. That is in one meaning. Second meaning we have already understood. The third meaning we will understand. Dharma is our essential nature. And once we understand all the three in detail in the coming chapters, this mind is not going after the RSM syndrome. Dharma is essential nature. What is the essential nature? Essential nature is the intrinsic nature. What is intrinsic nature? What is the secondary nature? Sweetness of a sugar is the intrinsic essential nature. You cannot separate the sweetness from the sugar. And what is the secondary nature? You can find the sugar in a crystal form, in a powder form, in a liquid form. That is the secondary nature. Look at it, we are very clear about it. We dig deep inside each word. So dharma is essential nature. My essential nature. What is my essential nature? It is the real self. What is your essential nature? It is the real self. What is the essential nature of my honey? It is the same real self. So we will understand that the moment I put my life into this world of action, the moment I am ready to think and speak and act in the world, so what he is talking about, that is my personal duty based on my profession, based on my role that I need to play at a particular time. I have to play a role as a father, so that's why I went to see him. He said, "No, I'm busy." I said, "No worries. It has nothing to do with the ego." And we discussed almost for 10-15 hours. And then he recalled all those events. "Oh, that is why you were doing this. That is why you went there. And you accepted that person. Even he said you something nasty." And I was upset because why you did not react. So once the personal duty is settled in our mind, one thing is very clear: you are free from the anxiety, duality, and conflict. You know your role to play. Your 100% clarity is there. When that clarity is there, there is no way, there is no reason to get upset over the things. I told you this guy again sent me an email today. I forgot that I have to attend a parents-teacher meeting in the school, so I cannot attend your session today. So he has been escaping because of his own ego. So he is so much overwhelmed with the divorce. I cannot say anything. Why should I say anything? I said, "Thank you very much." So I sent him a link on the YouTube. I said, "No, living with a purpose." So I was teaching a group of Ukrainians living with a purpose. So I found that video to be suitable. So we need not to get upset. That is your way. You have chosen that path. We don't force anyone. Teaching cannot be enforced. Law can be enforced. That is why as a coach, I need not to do the marketing. I cannot force. So we have to be very clear. It's a various duty. So here in case of the Arjuna, it's a various duty to fight with the courage. Oh, so I play my role with the courage. I play my role with a conviction. I play my role with a clarity. And see that courage, clarity, and conviction is there. So I know what I have to do. I'll tell you my personal life also. The time comes when relations goes against you, but you stick to your personal duty and you are free. You don't invite any wrath or any duality against the near and the dear ones. And what happens after some time, the life falls into order. It is not a question of belief, it's a question of courage, clarity, and a conviction to do your duty. You check yourself, you hammer your mind, find out what is my duty towards as a father, what is my duty as a husband, what is my duty as an employer. Be very clear. So when you are clear, say for example, if some employee is fighting against you, but you are very clear, you have a courage, clarity, and a conviction, so you don't engage yourself into the fighting because you are clear. We are not swayed by the RSM syndrome. It's such a beautiful principle that should be applied in our day-to-day life. But it also comes with the principle of contributing, connecting, contributing, and grateful. Varesi broke down, I told you, and then now today he came back. So I said, "What is my role?" My role is nothing. Just to check and see everything is falling into the right place. Then I got some idea. Oh, let me ask, do you need tea, coffee, or water? No, we don't want anything. That's American typical way. We don't want anything. So it's so much hot. After an hour, they got because they are repairing it. So they got into the car and they started the car, they spent half an hour in the AC and they came back and then they repaired. That is their goodness that they did not ask. But it is my duty to ask. They have come here to serve me. So, once our head is clear, we are done. That is what we have understood in the verse number 33. Now come to the verse number 34. So we have understood our personal duty, and we are doing our duty all the time, since we wake up in the morning until we retire to the bed. What happens? People will recognize you as an honest people. Now understand that. You are not doing it to get recognized as being an honest. But you will definitely be recognized that you are an honest person. And when they recognize you are an honest person, you don't bring any disgrace from the society. Because to get a dishonor from the society, from the world, from the near and the dear ones is worse than the death. Because you feel guilt, you feel shy in going out into the society and talking to the near and the dear ones. You see, we are just removing that part in our life. If the cop is not going to catch the criminal, and the cop is just talking and taking a bribe, obviously that is going against his duty. So see the broader perspective. That is how the entire universal laws works. But how it works? Because I'm doing my personal duty. I need not to be worried about it. It was my first month in US, and then they said, "Are you scared?" Of the people here. Why should I be scared? Both are democratic countries. I came from one democratic country to the another democratic country. And I recognize that I have some freedom, and I am subjected by the laws. So where is the problem? I have no problem at all. No problem in living. No, there are biases. Let there be biases. There is no biases at all. When I don't perform my duty, I goes against my duty, then I have an idea of a racial discrimination. Think of it. So you can give a good lecture, you can create a book on how to avoid the race biases and preferences. It will not work. I have to recognize what is my personal duty towards you. Not you as a person of color or rest of the stuff that we are undergoing in US. So it has its universal appeal. Doing my personal duty, I'm getting connected to the entire universe. Without any preferences, without any attachment and detachment, my friend. That is such a beautiful principle. Such a beautiful. If it is settled in your mind, you are totally free. But if you don't do it, people will say why you have that preferences, biases because of the attachment and detachment. Don't do that. So you also bring the dishonor. And the dishonor and the disgrace is worse than the death. And that is what happens in the war. When a soldier refuses to fight for the country and escapes. You see, it is because, I'm going against my personal duty. That is a broader example. The same thing also happens. I have a fight, no problem. I fought with my honey, but at the same time, I recognize what is my personal duty. I fought because, I lost my temper because of my weaknesses, but at the same time I recognize what is my duty. And I go and tell my honey, this is my duty, I recognize it, I'm sorry. I don't cover it with my ego. I don't cover it with my attachment. No way. That is the message, because now you see your mind is expanding by understanding this. You don't keep the guilt, you don't keep your hatred against anyone. Neither you are guilty nor you keep that hatred. Your mind is free. That is the message the Master gives. So go back to the 235. So it's 35. So if I escape from my personal duty, I bring the dishonor. And if I continue to do my duty, even if I have some loss. My older brother died, I told you, and then my older brother's wife was totally stuck to that property, and I told you all the story. I said, it is my duty. Now, as a man, I am an older. Take the 20%, nothing happened. So we have to be mindful regarding the personal duty. So this is what the 35th verse says, Bhayat ranat uparatam. No, I need not to escape from the battle. No, it is inherited property, I have a right. But if I can leave the right to pave the way to peace and happiness, yes, let me do it. Let me do it. Where is the problem? So that is what the Master says with reference to the Arjuna. Even you fight the battle, and even if you die, people will say you will go to heaven. Why you go to heaven? You are dying because of performing your duty, like the soldier. But it does not mean that, I am a soldier and I kill a thief inside my home. No. My role is to hand over that thief to the cop. Let the law takes its own course. But if I'm a soldier, I'm fighting against my enemy country, let me die for my country. So you see, here the personal law overrides the universal laws of the non-violence. I recall, but if I recall clearly, I read a couple of times the entire Bible, long back in India. I'll remember again, then I'll tell you the story. So now coming to the 36th verse, the worldly opinion should not disturb you. That is the meaning. There may be a difference of opinion in the world, and if that disturbs you, it comes from the RSM syndrome. RSM syndrome. Did I tell you that in the first 6 months I was fined by the cop? It was not my mistake. It was raining heavily in New Jersey. There was a snow, and so he fined me. I don't know for what reason. I need not to go there, but he fined me. So I said, no, I'm not going to pay the fine. It was $139. So anyhow, I was summoned. So I presented myself to the court in North Brunswick. I still remember. She was a lady, and she asked me what you do. I said, I put this machine into order. What you're doing? I said, I put this machine into order. And then she understood. Oh, okay. You are a psychotherapist, or some sort of it. I put this machine into order. So she started laughing, and so she said, what happened? So when I explained, and she said, no, you cannot be fined. So $139, he said, I can admonish $100, but $39 is the court fee. See, that you have to pay. Do you agree? I said, I agree. The cop was also standing there. It had just been 2 or 3 months in this country. So you should be very clear about your duty, your personal duty. You should be very clear. So where you need to stand up, where you need to be humble, where you need to escape, they all come into the personal duty. Your kid is fighting against you, it's better to escape. My son, my daughter, my honey, calm down. When you calm down, then I will talk to you. Escape. Don't fight. That's not we will understand that, it opens to the entire area of working. It is such a beautiful, when I studied, I said, it is such an easy way to live in my life. Such an easy way. Such an easy way. And then I went to the sheriff of the North Brunswick department. I said, is it possible that I should give you some tips to live in calmness and peace, to handle your professional life in peace? The sheriff agreed, so I gave a couple of lessons free of cost. No, we cannot pay. I said, no worries. See, is there how you can connect, how you can contribute. It is not that, in future, so what happened, then another cop gave me, the first time I knew that, they gave me 4 cards. Do you know that? I think you might be knowing, obviously you are born and brought up here. So they gave me the 4 cards, whenever you have a problem, show this card. You will not be fine.
I've never had that.
You never had that. So I never knew that this also happens. So sheriff said that you have to show the card in the entire New Jersey. They will listen to you. They will remember. They may call me, but they will not find you. So I told him jokingly that this also doesn't mean that I speed up my car. I should not overspeed. So he started laughing. You will not do it. Remember this. This is the way to perform the personal duty. It's such a beautiful way to understand before we enter into the karma yoga. So we are going deeper. Dishonor, worldly opinion should not disturb you. Let no praise or the blame disturb your equanimity. That is the message. So I maintain that calmness, but no praise or the blame. At one time, hold on, at one time your daughter is going to blame you. At other time the daughter is going to praise you. I should live into that state of equanimity to see what is her problem and solve her problem. And stand against her duality and a conflict in a ways best possible. So it means I act without the selfish motive. I don't see that I have taken care of. It is I who brought you up and I paid you so much of the money. Not at all. Not at all. Do you still remember I told that woman in New Jersey who works with the jewelry company and whose daughter burnt the entire rear and the front seat with his friends with a cigarette in the car, and this mother financed the car. Mother was financing the fees of the college, and mother was my student, and she called me and she said, I'm just burning, this is not fair, this is not good. I said, calm down, hold on until I come to you tomorrow, next day. I said, are you financing your daughter? Yes. Are you paying? Can you finance my college degree? No, I cannot. So you are related to her. You are doing your duty. So no, I want to stop financing and I let my daughter to find another home. I don't want. No, I said you are going against the personal duty. Keep on doing your personal duty. At the same time, see how your daughter can change her attitude. And she got it. She understood. So luckily what happened, I was explaining the same thing in front of her daughter. And the daughter also got it. They both realized their mistake. I will not do it. I recognized. So you see that once we are, clarity is there, the courage is there, and we have a conviction on these principles, the problem is solved. Problem is solved. I don't remember, she was working with some big jewelry company. What happens in these conditions, in these situations, we avoid our duty. And when you avoid your duty, when you escape from your duty, you are making fun of yourself, you are making fun of others. So you avoid your duty by inserting others, you also escape your duty by not understanding what needs to be done. So we have a solution in all the situations, conditions, events and people. So I should be detached from the praise and the blame. If only the near and the dear ones are going to blame, it doesn't matter if the stranger blames you. It does not make any difference. So do I remember my personal duty to the near and the dear ones? It may be a daughter, it may be a son, it may be my parents, but I should be humble. I should not stop meeting them. So what happens? An idea of a selfless duty takes birth in your mind. You remain detached with the near and the dear ones, and you are not affected by the praise or the blame. So that idea, that thought, that feeling of doing a selfless duty comes to your mind. Towards your daughter, towards your son, towards your parents, towards your mother, towards your father. It comes, oh, I'm capable, can I help, can I connect, can I contribute? Yes, let me do it. Never, never ever escape. If you escape, means the RSM syndrome is working in your mind. It will bear its strong impressions. It will create an unfavorable situation in your life in the future, and then you will feel you are frustrated. My friend, this is such a beautiful way. We are going in totally in a different dimension after understanding what is the nature of the real self, 6 characteristics. But it is the daily living. It is very important for me how to live my daily life. So we have yet to go to the karma yoga. So it's a foundation of the karma yoga. So you see that where it is happening in the mind. What is karma yoga? Attitude in the mind. So you see that very complex, that is why I said that you are just understanding as a bullet points. We have to go deeper into this. Dying in righteous battle opens the heaven's gate. That is our title of the 37th verse. Dying is an extreme case. Let me stand for my personal duty with a courage, clarity, conviction, connecting, contributing, and being grateful. Finished. All the time. All the time. Oh, that is why, Dad, you did not say to that guy anything who cheated you. I said yes. I am selfish because I was doing my personal duty. So he recalled all those events and incidents. He is around 35 now, so obviously he has to recognize. He recalled all those events. So he said, that's a beautiful, he had reflected on it. The next day he was saying, that does that have an impact on my life? I said, ask yourself. He said, yes, that has an impact on my life also, because I am connected to you. So be careful, you are connected to your wife. You are connected to your mom, you are connected to your sister. It will definitely have an impact if you are performing your personal duty. So the near and the dear ones will always be affected and influenced. Understand that part. Do you think that I am not recognizing your contribution? You have allowed me to stay in your house and you are living there. I understand that. I always pray for you. That comes to my personal duty as a father. So I should be doing to my sister, my mom, and I said yes. That should be your personal attitude, personal duty. Because we do not understand this, that's why gradually what happens, you like something, your honey dislikes something, and gradually it builds up these impressions in your mind, and the time comes we divorce. Why we met for the first time? We became a soulmate, so-called, in US we say soulmate. And then why we become a soulmate? You see the journey from the soul, from a strangers, two people, strangers, soulmate, and after a period of time we become the soulmate. It is because we are not doing our duty. Even if one person in that relationship is performing one duty, there is no question of becoming a soulmate and divorce. There is no question at all. So just to tell you, in our community in India, we belong to, for the sake of understanding, we belong to that community there the divorce is rare. It's totally a rare phenomena in my community. We are about 10 million people in with that surname. It's a very rare. Mind never thinks of this, because since childhood we are nurtured and nourished with those values, and those values takes the form of the personal duty. Well, sometimes it happens, I won't say it's 100%. People are different. So dying in the righteous 27, there is a. So what happens now? Now somebody has insulted you, somebody has blamed you, somebody has praised you. It is not affecting you at all. So you are victorious in both the ways. You have been living your life. So I was victorious. First I won the war against that cop who was little bit biased against me. $100 was admonished in the court, but then I have to pay in return. And I paid the return. I gave a couple of sessions, 7 or 8 hours of the sessions to the entire group, entire cop of the North Brunswick where I was living. And that gave me a satisfaction. So we should never leave that idea and understanding all the time. So what it happens? There no one dares me to open the gate to the hell. My door to the heaven is always open. We will understand that in detail. Now the 38th verse, the last verse, the fight. Fight. So the fight, in case of the Arjuna, he said fight the battle. In our case, fight the battle in life. Every day there is a battle. Every day there may be the chances of the duality. There may be the chances in our mind of likes and dislikes, hatred and the jealousy. They come into the mind. They will continue to come. There may be unfavorable situation and favorable situation. There may be the liking and disliking. I have to remind my personal duty in the amid likes and dislikes, frustration, unfavorable situation and the favorable situation. They will come and go. They always flee. Today my dear and the dear one said me something. Tomorrow I know that thought, that feeling will definitely dissolve in her or his mind. With that understanding, I'm living in relationship. If I live into that with that idea, that attitude in the mind, again, clarity, courage, conviction. So because I'm already related to him and her, so I have to see how I can connect and contribute in a way, doing my personal duty. So I embrace the battle in the world where I have to find situation, favorable, unfavorable, likes and dislike, frustration. How I have to embrace that situation in the state of dispassion. So personal duty also means that I should perform my duty by becoming clear in the state of dispassion and discernment. I should do my action in the state of equanimity of the mind. That equanimity of the mind is the attitude in the mind. What happens when I am doing my duty in the state of discernment and dispassion and the equanimity? My mind is clear. It doesn't have any anxiety and anger and duality and a conflict. Attitude in the mind, action outside. Attitude in the mind, action outside. So I remain detached even with the near and the dear ones. What that means, mind is purified. Manaiv manushyanam karanam bandhamokshayo bandhai vishaya saktam muktai nirvishayam smratam. It comes from one Upanishad. I told you Upanishads are the creed. And after Upanishad comes the Gita. So in that Upanishad it says, Manev Manushyanam Karanam Bandha Moksha. Mind is the cause of the bondage and mind is the cause of the freedom. Mind caught in RSM syndrome, bondage. Mind knows the personal duty and understands the freedom comes from doing the personal duty. Mind is the cause of the freedom while performing my personal duty. But how come the mind becomes the cause of the bondage? So the first verse of that Upanishad, beautiful Upanishad comes. You have, I think I have seen that book, perhaps you have. I make it very simple. Manohi devidham proktam, Manohi devidham proktam, Shuddham cha Shuddham eva cha. Mind is of two types, pure and impure. And then in the second line he defines how the mind becomes impure. Ashuddham kama sankalpam, the impure mind has a desire seeking happiness outside, and then it creates an imagined happiness. It imposes the imagined happiness on the others, on a situation and event. That makes the mind impure, and the impure mind causes the bondage. And due to the bondage, I forget my personal duty. No, you said this, and you said this, and that is the bone of conflict. You told me this, and you did this, and you did this. So what is the message? Treating pleasure and the pain, gain and the loss, victory and the defeat alike. Why? That is the way the world is. That is the way the world is. That is the nature of the world. That is not my nature. Engage yourself in personal duty so that we become free from unnecessary, unwanted journey in the life. So what happens? You wake up in the morning, you are totally free. Why? You are 100% clear about your personal duty. There is a clarity, there is a courage, there is a conviction. This is what I need to do. You're not confused. You're not frustrated. Then what happens? Sukha dukkhe samikritva Labhu alabhu jaya ajayu. Aha. Tatah yudhyay yujyasya noevam papam. What a beautiful verse is the 38th verse. What it says: in the world outside, we have a situation of sorrow and the joy. We have an event of victory and the defeat. We have an event of profit and the loss. Victory and defeat, profit and the loss, sorrow and the joy, they are bound to come in our life because we are living in this world. Why? The world is in constant flux, the world is constantly changing. Sometimes we get more than expected, and sometimes we get less than projected. Put it that way. More than expected and less than projected. That projected is my imagined idea. Even you go to your client and you say, oh, that client is such a, he has such a huge house, so let me charge $50,000. That is your projection. And sometimes you find that the guy you never expected to pay you, but he pays you more. He never says, okay, that is done. It has come due to my sins and the virtues that I have accumulated in the past birth. It is not the result of today. Yes, I have to continue my personal duty. That is one thing. That is one thing. Sukha dukkha same kritva, keeping your balance of mind in pleasure and pain, in gain and loss, in victory and defeat. Let us live our life daily. So when I live my life, keeping the balance, what happens? What happens? What happens? I do my personal duty selflessly. When I do my personal duty selflessly, not only I enjoy my life, and gradually, if people are unconscious towards me, they have certain jealousy and hatred, gradually, slowly, they understand the nature. Either they will come back to you or